to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
You were one of the first on the social media front. I mean, you were one of the experts, if you will, on that whole thing years and years ago. I mean, when was that? 2007?
So 2007
was iPhone, right?
So
And then-
YouTube came on the scene in 05.
15 years ago.
Yeah, so 05, and that's and late 2005 is when I started to pay attention to it.
So you were in there early, and I remember that from our prior conversation. So my question is, what are your thoughts on social media now? I'm curious if you saw the Netflix documentary,
The Social Dilemma?
The Social Dilemma. Did you see that yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
You need to see that.
Yeah, it's on my queue.
So 63.
Wait, what's Netflix?
What? Oh, yeah. Well, assuming you haven't already canceled Netflix.
No, I still have
for
Netflix.
any particular reason. The Social Dilemma is a very good documentary on Netflix.
It's
really,
in my
really,
queue.
really good.
It's in my queue.
And there's a stat from that documentary: 63% of, let's see if I can get this right. 63%.
I have it here.
It's 64% of people who join extremist groups on Facebook. Okay.
All right.
Did so because the algorithm steered them there. 64% because the algorithm steered them there. And
I'm going to have more coffee for this part of the conversation, I think.
Andrew, you want to grab some more right there?
Sure thing.
Another stat from their documentary: the number of countries using political disinformation campaigns on social media has doubled in the past 2 years. That's not that surprising to me. But this is interesting. So every social media user does have a profile. So you have a profile on Facebook. I have a profile on Facebook.
Sure.
You have a profile on Twitter. I have one. Instagram, so
Not
forth.
anymore.
You
My
deleted-
Twitter profile got hacked. Like a year. I want to say it got hacked a year and a half ago, and I had a friend named Eric said, "Hey, you might want to check." He hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Hey, you might want to check your Twitter profile got hacked, and it's like showing girls in bikinis or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, that's not me. And I looked it up, and I was just like, they can have it.
You just delete it,
Or
or you just let it go.
I let it go. So
Why didn't you delete it?
I deleted my name.
Okay.
And then but I didn't try to recover it or anything like that.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, what I mean by profile is not so much that you have, I don't really mean that you have an account. I'm just
Yes,
saying
I get you.
the algorithm has a bead on you, and there's this was from 2016. Back in 2016, this is 4 years ago, there was 29,000 different considerations that went into your particular algorithmic profile.
Nice word. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's crazy. So what do you make of social media now that here we are in 2020?
I think what's interesting is that's not social. That's social on the back end, meaning it's taking algorithms and then it's pulling the social threads and the social connections and leveraging the social connections once it's made all these algorithmic determinations. Originally, social media was just about people connecting with people.
Exactly.
And so that's what's flipped dramatically is that the personal data and all of the things that can be extracted from that, and then tracking activity, and then making correlations through that that's what was not part of the original setup. Thank you so much.
Well, exactly. But that is kind of the whole point of the social dilemma. It's their point of that documentary is not that, oh, we're becoming too social, we're spending too much time talking to each other. The whole point of that is we're now starting to have our decisions and our actions dictated by the algorithm.
Yep.
Which is a
I can see
relatively concerning situation to be in as a society.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, we've always had other voices telling us things. And so whether it's been literature over the years or media empires, I mean, think about, somebody like William Randolph Hearst, as a media newspaper guy, back in the day. It wasn't like a lily white perfect, pristine time.
Right. Well, I don't disagree with you on that, but we've never had
It is
this
more aggressive
amount
now.
of specific targeted information, that we have to deal with individually. And, let's face it, a lot of people are spending a ton of time on Facebook and YouTube, and then you have your notifications that pop up, and I mean, all of those. And then Google's a huge one. Google knows what you're into, and now they're bringing stuff when you Google certain things. Like so I agree that we have had, it's not like we've had a rosy past at all times, but we've never dealt with such a powerful, specific, deliberate kind of manipulation of us as a person individually that we have to battle against. And look, battling against this is relatively easy if you want to just get rid of your smartphone and go to a dumb phone, or get rid of all your social media and never go on YouTube or never use Google. Then I think you've kind of got it at that point. But, no one's really, not too many people are prepared to do that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the webs, not the websites, the apps are built to hook you in.
Yeah.
They are programmed to make you want to stay longer.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix wants you to watch more movies and shows.
Yep.
So they win when you're on there more. And I think if you know that, I mean, I remember years ago when I would do consulting and training events and conferences, I remember telling people, I said, LinkedIn is most interested in your data. They kind of don't care if you find a job through some LinkedIn contact.
Right.
Now, they want to sell you some recruiting services, perhaps, or they want to sell you some things through that. But LinkedIn is about data.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why when you pay a premium fee, a monthly premium fee, you get more data. You personally get more access to more things. You get better search. And so, LinkedIn was probably one of the first that was very kind of candid about it. And it seemed a little ugly at the time.
Yeah.
And yet I think they were pretty clear right off the bat about what was driving them.
Do you think that do you think there's a good argument for social media being a utility and not privately owned? And by that, I mean, so Micah over here with, I think it's New Unity, he does branding, and he was doing some work with a local power company, and it was privately owned, but it turned into, let me see if I can get it right. It's the way the state looked at that, it needed to be a utility. That's my point. So it was privately owned, but heavily regulated by the government, and it was treated as utility, and you couldn't have other competitors. They wouldn't allow another competitor to come in, but you had to play by the government's role. So it was still privately owned, but it really was run like a government-owned thing, because the premise for that is everyone needs it. So we can't have a monopoly with, say, water, because everyone needs water, and you can't have someone owning the water space and then doing whatever they want to do with your life through your water bill.
Right.
And there are some now that are arguing that Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, I haven't heard that so much with YouTube, that it's so important now. It's how so many people get their news. It's so integral, I guess, into our lives that it should be a utility and not run by,
Yeah, I haven't heard that argument. I would really need to think about that. I, in general, don't like the idea of businesses being taken over.
I agree with that.
By the government.
Yep.
So that just right off the bat sounds like I don't like that. Directionally, I don't like what that sounds like it's doing. I can see though. I don't know if you have to make a really strong utilitarian argument there, and that gets into how people are accessing data and information. I don't know. I think the fact of the matter is, if the government, for instance, wanted to create something that would function in this way, they could mirror many of the capabilities.
Yeah.
So why not do that as a public connection point, type of situation?
Yeah, they could, and it would probably suck. You know what I mean? If the government tried to have a governmental run or launched Facebook, that probably would suck. Probably no one would use it.
Well, so they aren't then held to the same standards as the free market is what we would say.
Exactly.
But we know that, I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. In general, my gut take is it's pretty hesitant to think that one, that it should be a utility, and two, that it even is a utility.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to think about that more before I could probably buy that rationale.
Just watching the Social Dilemma, I mean, it's fairly concerning with like how integrated these algorithms are becoming a part of our everyday human experience, particularly as like 13, 14, I don't know. I guess there's probably kids even, which I can't imagine, on social media, 8, 9, 12, which just seems crazy. But that's just normal life for them. So it's like, it's super integrated. The thing though that caught my attention the most, which I think is explaining some of like some of the crazy stuff going on out there, is the fact that so many of these people joining these extremist groups were like kind of directed there from the algorithms. That seems concerning.
Yeah, I mean, if that's happening, that's not good.
Trust me, it's happening, bro. Maybe you're not on social media so much, or because you're on to important things, which is very, very good. But there is a lot of weird stuff floating around out there.
Yeah, so I am on some, but I spent so many years in deep all the time, every day in early, and so I think I'm certainly not on like I used to. I clearly didn't care about my Twitter account.
Yeah.
I don't do anything on Instagram. I'm on Facebook some.
Yeah. Well, it's not the people that have a purpose and a mission and a goal like you do. I think it's the people that have too much spare time and they just get sucked down all these rabbit holes, and then they're spreading the information, and next thing you know, there's weird stuff happening.
Well, so I think this is where did the companies rise up and take their platforms back?
Right.
So, my thought would be, well, what is Facebook, for instance, doing to rise up and take its platform back? What is Twitter doing? What is YouTube doing? What is Instagram, Snapchat, whoever else?
Yeah.
TikTok, of course.
Yeah.
If they feel the need to rise up and take their platform back, then do it.
Yeah.
Now, I understand. I do read enough to know that there's blowback even on that. And what does it look like, politically speaking, to rise up and take your platform back?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that it's easy, but I think that's where, if you want to avoid losing something that you built,
mm-hmm.
go get it back and do your best to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.